Bauforum 24. Construction in Motion. Das Online-Filmarchiv.
Yes, and I heard about you too.
Thank you very much.
How are you? We always talk about...
I'm the engineer of Coran.
Okay. Good evening. How are you?
From all over Nigeria, they've come together in Abuja. Important figures from the worlds of politics and business, religious leaders and the diplomatic corps, and many guests from overseas. They've come to celebrate an anniversary, a quarter of a century of Julius Berger Nigeria.
From 6 o'clock.
How are you?
An important encounter, a festive banquet and many fine speeches full of memories, praise and good wishes.
It is my honor and great privilege to welcome you all to our Silver Jubilee celebration tonight.
Well, we celebrate 2 years today, 25th anniversary of Julius Berger Nigeria, your company.
Because what we are celebrating tonight is excellence. That is the other name for Julius Berger.
I'm pleased to be here as a representative of the Federal Republic of Germany for the 25th anniversary of the incorporation of Julius Berger Nigeria and years of service to Nigeria.
You have been told, and we are proud to be part of this partnership in progress.
Julius Berger Nigeria is an important construction company and one which plays an established and significant role in Nigeria's economy.
Lagos, the liveliest and busiest city on the west coast of Africa, full of activity and dynamism, a city whose rhythm is determined by the high life. It's here that our story begins, and it begins with a bridge. A good beginning. Bridges create links between people. The bridge in question is the second linking the island city and the mainland. On the basis of its proposal and its worldwide experience, a German construction company was commissioned to build this bridge and handed it over punctually to the client. State President General Jacobu Gowon opened the bridge to traffic. It was given the name Eco Bridge. The bridge met all expectations, provided an effective connection and an attractive one as well. Pleased with themselves and their work, the Germans could have left the country again, but they stayed. Nigeria was undergoing transition and there was a lot to do, and the Eco Bridge had to be extended to link up with the mainland traffic system. But this bridge extension wasn't carried out by the German firm of Julius Berger Aktiengesellschaft, but by Julius Berger Nigeria Limited, a Nigerian construction company with a German shareholding. Founded in 1970. To be able to handle the many new tasks facing it, the young Nigerian company had built itself a head office in Ijora. And on it went. The second phase of the Eco Bridge, creating an extension to link up with mainland traffic. Also an imposing site, and it does its job extremely well. All the same, Lagos was increasingly pressed for space. As oil production grew, Nigeria's economy enjoyed a remarkable upturn. Lagos was threatened with traffic gridlock. It seemed appropriate for an important Nigerian construction company to devote its energies to solving such problems, especially since in Germany it has a partner with a century of experience in planning and building. Bilfinger and Berger Bauaktiengesellschaft the result of the merger of two large German construction companies. From here, there's a constant transfer of know-how to the Nigerian partner. And, not to be underestimated, the strong financial background for the quickly growing company in this still young African state. So, together, a solution is conceived for the pressing traffic problems in the overcrowded lagoon city. The ring road around Lagos Island. Following large-scale land reclamation on the port and lagoon side, multi-lane and free of crossings so that traffic can really flow. Among other things, that means many kilometers of bridges and elevated roads. The traffic relief also includes a bridge over 5 Cowrie Creek to neighboring Victoria Island, the Falomo Bridge. And everywhere, Julius Berger Nigeria was already called the Bridge Boys. And the company's successful soccer team still proudly bears this name today, the Bridge Boys. But the company built far more than just bridges. Roads, for example, the 10-lane expressway from the port of Apapa to Ikeja to link up with the Nigerian trunk road network. Talking about ports, the volume of shipping and freight had multiplied, so Julius Berger Nigeria built a container terminal in Apapa. But even that wasn't enough. So, with the Nigerian Port Authority, a plan for Tin Can Island Port was drawn up. And after a construction period of just 15 months, the new port was ready for turnkey handover to the client. Warri and Sapele were also given efficient modern port facilities with many berths. Nigeria's plans for gradual industrialization. This includes the first major steel plant on Africa's west coast, the Delta Steel plant in Alaja, at that time the most modern steel plant in existence. After 4 years of construction, the first homemade steel was produced and cast into billets, ready to be processed in the attached rolling mill or in the new rolling mill in Jos. President Shehu Shagari came to the ceremonial opening and set the rolling train in motion. On this giant site, backfilled with sand from the bed of the River Niger, the largest industrial complex in Nigeria was created, the Ajaokuta Steel Plant. In this too, Julius Berger Nigeria played a decisive role. We also built the office block, prestigious, functional, turnkey, completely furnished. For the 50 kilometers from the ore mines to the steel plant and the 320 kilometers to the next port, railway lines had to be built for the heavy ore trains. The 520,000 concrete sleepers were made by our own railway sleeper plant in Ajaokuta. The traffic links once again include bridges. Bridges over the Niger, almost 3 kilometers in length. All with the appropriate riverbed foundations, of course, so perhaps it is Bridge Boys after all. For example, there was Jebba, where the old combined rail and road bridge had once had to cope with all traffic between Lagos and Nigeria's north. 6 bridges crossed Nigeria's great river, and we built 4 of them. We, the Bridge Boys of Julius Berger Nigeria. And finally, even the good old Carter Bridge in Lagos had to be replaced by a 6-lane pre-stressed concrete bridge. Our work here in Nigeria had begun with the second mainland bridge. We followed that up by replacing the first bridge and then went on to build the third. In a wide 7-kilometer long arc, it curves in the lagoon around the densely built-up city. This will be a bridge over Imo River in Rivers State. Bridge boys. But let's not judge too quickly. Other things happen as well, like working safely in uncertain soil conditions, building in water. For example, in the flooded mangrove swamps, Julius Berger has qualified itself for tasks in the oil-rich Niger Delta, pipeline construction. The company has the right construction machinery, all the necessary know-how and well-qualified personnel. And so the Escravos Warri gas collection and transmission line was built. And other pipelines followed for gas and oil. For Nigeria, the oil reserves represent good fortune, though not without problems, admittedly. Supplying water to the country's over 100 million population is a constant challenge. That applies especially to the north of the country. That's why the government is endeavoring to bridge the drought periods with the help of embankment dams. Julius Berger Nigeria was commissioned with the job of building a dam with weir facilities to ensure water supplies for Gusau in Sokoto State. As early as 1971, we'd built the Laminga Dam to provide water for Jos, the capital of Plateau State. Other dams followed: Pangshin, Langtang, the Aza River and the Shen River dams. All the dam projects also included treatment facilities for drinking water. The longest dam we built, almost 8 kilometers in length, was on the Chalawa River. The impounded water there is intended primarily to serve agriculture in the region and provide a drinking water reservoir for the economic region around Kano. In the traditional clay building style of the north, the famous old Katsina College. Important men of Nigeria studied here. Despite all respect for culture and tradition, Katsina also had to be given new routes to cope with traffic. And we also built a new airport here because Katsina is a great distance from the important centers of Nigeria, even if the new capital did come halfway towards it. Yes, the new capital, Abuja, virtually in the center of Nigeria. What a challenge, building a new capital as a symbol of the unity of Nigeria. It all began with earthworks in hilly bush savanna. The infrastructures had to be created for numerous districts with everything required: water supply and sewage lines, power and telecommunications. Over 300 kilometers of roads, 4-lane main roads, auxiliary roads and quiet residential streets, all at the foot of Azo Rock, Abuja's great landmark. And then the central area, the government and business district. Its main roads are to be free of crossings, calling for retaining walls and, of course, once again, many bridges. Just a few years after building started, the first grand military parade to mark the 22nd anniversary of Nigeria's independence could be held in Abuja, on a parade ground made by Julius Berger Nigeria Limited. Soldiers need quarters, so in Abuja, as always in a very short construction period, 3 complete residential districts were created for the 3 battalions of the Guard Regiment, with all the necessary infrastructures: schools, kindergartens, sports facilities, supermarkets, mosques and churches. As always, when Julius Berger Nigeria is engaged on a major project, company-owned auxiliary firms spring up, especially in Abuja, because here building will continue for a long time to come. The secret of the company's success is doing as much as possible itself, with its own machinery and equipment and its own qualified employees. Only in this way has it proved possible to meet all deadlines, no matter how short the period allowed for building. And no matter whether it's precast concrete elements, masonry or roof tiles, road building materials, or noble products of natural stone. Julius Berger workshops also service all machinery and vehicles. This calls for huge spare parts stores. The aim, maximum service life for all machinery and vehicles. This saves imports, which means valuable currency. But this also calls for large numbers of qualified personnel, and so Julius Berger Nigeria isn't just a successful construction company, it's also an outstanding source of training for Nigerian skills. Imports can also be avoided by making as much as possible from domestic raw materials. Furniture, for example, large volumes of consistently high quality. And aluminium windows and doors. Julius Berger Nigeria has the necessary factories, providing lots of coveted jobs. All logistics are also in the company's own hands. Only in this way can the always tight deadlines be kept or even beaten. Otherwise, the addition of a large hall to the Congress Center in Abuja in just 8 months would never have been completed in time for the opening of the OAU conference. But it was ready, and the first conference of the Organization of African Unity in Abuja begins.
Distinguished Secretary General of the Organization of African Unity.
The Nigerian president welcomes the OAU members. And so a construction company plays its role in its country's history. Abuja is also growing upwards and is becoming more and more a capital city. Again, further enormous building effort is required, but now on the housing front. Julius Berger creates up to 1,000 square meters of office and housing floor space a day. Like the Better Life Center, an ensemble of extremely varied purpose-designed structures. Things here, still being simulated on a computer, have long since become reality, the first large government ministry complex for the new capital. Designed by Julius Berger Nigeria in cooperation with the Federal Capital Development Authority. Bright, airy, friendly rooms in line with the Nigerian love of encounter and communication. The same is true of the first construction phase of the National Assembly Hall. And Abuja's International Airport is given a new terminal to meet the needs and accord with the status of a modern capital. The capacity of the first phase of construction, 1 million passengers a year. The most important resources of a country or a company are its people. They fill it with life and lead it to success. There are the shareholders and the executive directors. Without them, nothing goes.
Your Excellencies, Chiefs, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and a very good shareholders. The time is 11 o'clock.
They meet once a year to take stock and render account and hear the next installment of the ongoing success story. And over the years, a core of outstanding personnel has been created with great specialized expertise. They are proud of their company and the achievements visible throughout the country. And behind every employee, there's a whole family. This means that Julius Berger Nigeria shares in responsibility for several hundreds of thousands of people throughout the country. That's why Julius Berger Nigeria not only builds important structures on behalf of clients, but also, first of all, houses for its employees and their families. Entire estates with electricity and running water. These will be houses for our senior staffs in Abuja. Our clinics are open to all our personnel and also for their families. Julius Berger Nigeria from the human angle, certainly part of the success story, and it's a matter of Nigeria's future.
Okay, gentlemen, the next meeting will take place on Tuesday the 29th.
New tasks, new projects, one goal, utilizing Nigeria's valuable resources sensibly and profitably. Manufacturing aluminium is extremely energy intensive, but energy is something Nigeria has in rich quantities, natural gas. And so, on Imo River, a modern and efficient aluminium smelting plant is constructed with long bays for the crucibles, its own power station, all infrastructures and dock facilities. To be able to export natural gas to distant countries, it has to be compressed in elaborate facilities and liquefied. Only then can it be transported on special tankers. On Bonny Island in Rivers State, we have just begun building a facility of this kind. Competence, experience and mutual trust. Those are the factors that have made Julius Berger Nigeria the most successful and biggest construction company in Nigeria. All certainly reasons enough to celebrate with dancing and drumming the African way. final word comes from the very top.
I'm here to represent the head of state, who would have very much loved to be here himself, but for other pressing duties, he has directed me to come and represent him. The bridge you first built in Nigeria 30 years ago has undoubtedly opened new frontiers in your unique and invaluable relationship with the government and people of Nigeria. Once again, I congratulate you and wish you a most fruitful and prosperous existence in Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless.
Bauforum 24. Construction in Motion. For free download. Bauforum 24.